Hello, YouTube. I thought I'd do one on overstimulation. Okay, so for a lot of people with Aspergers, being overstimulated tends to overload us quite a lot. I used to really struggle with it when I was younger. When my family used to take me into the city, I used to get headaches. Well, not so much headaches, but I'd be overwhelmed. And what I used to say to my mum is, I've got a headache, but I didn't understand the concept when I was young. I just knew that my head felt tense and it was hard to focus, so I considered that being a headache. I now know that's when I feel when I'm overloaded. For me, I really overcame most of my overstimulated um, feelings by immersing myself in these areas to a point where I'd actually start getting used to them. This took a long process and it did work to a degree, but in the end, you're still going to sense things when you sense them. I mean, you could train yourself to loud bangs in the night for the rest of your life. You're still going to wake up to them. So I found that when I started taking my vitamins intake, it really helped. It gave my mind, my brain, the actual minerals it needed to keep up with the influx of information. And it worked out for me quite well. Now I go in the city quite regularly with my friends, and it doesn't hold me back at all. I do find that when I'm driving the car at night, it tends to be irritating for headlights to be shining at me. I know that most people don't like it when there's light shining in their eyes, but I find it irritating that I actually catch myself getting angry at the other drivers thinking that they've got their high beams on. I guess that's what people call it all over the world, high beams. Just when your lights are turned onto the more powerful setting. And as soon as the car turns or finishes going over a little bit of a hill or incline or anything, I realize that they don't have their high beams on. And I catch myself, stop myself being irritable about it. I guess my biggest way of dealing with most of my overwhelming stimuli is being aware of myself and how I'm feeling at most given times, at most given moments. I find that I work every now and then as a labourer, just helping around job sites like builder sites and stuff, and painters. And I find that the tactile sense on some things is very overwhelming and it really, really challenges my focus. Like Melbourne can get quite cold, especially in morning weathers and stuff. And it can be a right pain in the ass when you're picking up metal with your hands all morning long, like ladders and hammers and stuff that have been out in the cold. And the sensation is quite overwhelming. I find it used to be very, very distracting. It was something I didn't get used to, and I still have trouble being used to it. I just try to hold on to my concentration for as long as possible to get as much of what I can do done. And then by the time I start losing all the focus, my hands have warmed up enough to handle it. Either that or the day's warmed up enough. Either way, it works out in the end. Lots of other things like when you do working with silicon and other glues, they tend to stick to your hand and they can be quite irritating, especially when they grab at the hairs. But I guess the most difficult overstimulation that I really struggled with was like loud clubs and loud noises. I When I first went to my first music concert, which was the Arctic Monkeys in Melbourne, It had a mosh pit in the front, and all my friends wanted to go into that, so I went with them for a bit. But I realized just how aggravated I'd get from it. It was a surprise because I'm not someone who gets irritable or angry very easy. It's really quite difficult to actually upset me in that way. It's actually a challenge for some people. Um, but just because of the amount of noise and the fact that the strobe was blinding my eyesight, as well as the constant people pushing me into my and just getting into the comfort zone, personal space zone, it just was all too much. I couldn't handle it, so I had to get out and go do something else for the time because it just was too much. I felt angry and almost like I was going to lose control, which was very scary because I've very rarely ever felt that. The one other time I felt like that was when I lost my best friend about a month or two later. I went into the city to go to work at the time, and something just happened. It was just like my brain just couldn't handle it. It was just little too much and just pushed me over the edge. And I actually had my first and only anxiety attack, and it was scary as hell. I thought I was having a heart attack. I was so confused and so lost. And anyway, I after that I quit my job and I decided that I was never going to push my body to that kind of point again. I was never going to live in a situation where I was trying to meet the needs of others to the point that my own health started backfiring on me. That's one of my life lessons I've definitely learned, and that's to do things for yourself and not for others, and show people how you love them the way you love them. Anyway, back to overstimulation. Um, so visual stimuli is difficult but manageable. A lot of people with Aspergers tend to manage them with hue filtering glasses. I can't quite remember what they're called, but Donna Williams uses them. Temple Grandin, she uses them as well, and a few other famous Aspies. I myself, I prefer to be able to see what I can see with what I've got. I don't really like wearing sunglasses, or I don't mind glasses. Like I'm long-sighted about here. I can't see any closer. So when I have a book, I tend to read with some reading glasses. But a glass that changes the hue of the world tends to put me off. I want to see exactly what's in front of me. As for noise, I tend to combat noise with other noise. A lot of people probably do this as well. Like I usually always have my MP3 player with me, and I rarely need to use it ever. It's just I don't know. It gives me a little bit of a slice of peace to have it with me. It's my defense against everything. If I really need to just zone out, that's what I've got, and it's got all my favorite music. So I'm never too far from my favorite songs. It's amazing what a good song can do to your mindset. It can change your day around. So, visual, auditory, touch, internet. Touch is hugely important for me. I communicate with touch when it comes to intimate um, situations. I have difficulty touching, being touched by anyone. I've probably mentioned this a few times. I find that even when my parents hug me or my brothers hug me, I still feel a bit awkward about it. Only in some few exceptions has have I been open enough and myself enough at the right time for it to connect properly and me to actually feel the same feeling they're feeling or me to feel a feeling in that situation. Touch is very much me. I'm always me when it comes to touch. I don't know if that last sentence made sense to you guys, but it made sense to me. Basically, this comes back to ego. Basically, like ego can take over language and expressions, but if I don't want to touch someone, I don't want to touch someone. That's all me. There's no ego in control there. Ego's never been in that kind of area. It's always been my own self, and I'd like to keep it that way too. So, all right, visual, auditory, kinetic, taste. Um, don't know what the scientific name for that one is. Taste is pretty important, along with smell. I'll do them both pretty quick. Uh, I find smells can be very distracting as well as taste. Back to what I was saying again. For vitamins, for my vitamins, they've really helped a lot. My ability to withstand being overloaded by things has diminished hugely because of them. I find that it doesn't stop me from feeling the intensity of what's happening. I still feel overstimulated, but because of the vitamins, I can actually keep up with it. It's like you running a marathon. Everyone's running a little too fast, just a little faster than you, and you're losing pace. And the vitamins are basically just the adrenaline shot that keeps you up with them. I don't know if that was a good explanation or not, but I hope you guys get what I mean. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I'll probably do another one on this soon. All right, guys. Good night.